Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manny Moonraker. You are listening to episode 227 of the UFO Buster Radio News Report. I got to shorten that somehow. And I know I'm messing it up because it's not the title of the episode the way I have it written, the way I copy and paste every damn time I do an episode. But I don't know. It's different every time. Every time I say it is different. And you guys know it's true because every time I start a podcast, I say, in the back of my mind, that's not what I pasted in there. And if you guys are looking for something, you're not going to find it. Not the way I say it. So just go by the number. This is 227, and we've got some sad news to report. But before I get into that, two things. Number one, don't forget to follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitters. If you don't know what the links are, they're in the description in this particular episode. Just go down, scroll, and find it. The other thing is, don't forget to follow the Dark Horde. That's right. That is also in the description. Facebook page coming pretty soon. I don't know if we'll do an Instagram page because ain't nobody got time for pictures. Nobody. Not a single person out there. The second thing to cover, besides thanking you guys for listening, I appreciate every single listen and thank you guys for being here right now. Thanks to James Villarreal. I know you guys who have been around for a while remember James from the very first tinfoil hat contest. He was the one that won out on the East Coast. And man, he had that TR3B tinfoil hat, which was amazing. I still wish I would have gotten it from him. You know, he could have shipped it. Come on, James, you could have shipped it. Well, anyway, I haven't heard from him from a while. And over the weekend, he sent me, I think it was like Friday or something like that. Friday evening, he's like, he's messaging me on Facebook. Yeah, you could do that too if you actually follow me on social media. And he says, hey, have you given a look-see at the Bob Lazar and Corbell interview that Joe Rogan did? I was like, damn, that is so funny because I was just looking at Netflix to look at the documentary that Corbell did about Bob Lazar. Because, you know, it was the big thing, right? When it first came out, the FBI was being called. All these things were happening. People were, you know, just clamoring to get to this documentary. And frankly, my dear, I could not spend money on it. I already have Netflix, you know, why not? I mean, hey, Stan Romanek, he made it big on Netflix. Why can't Bob Lazar? Thank goodness Bob Lazar did not go down the route to Stan Romanek. He's not playing with kiddies anywhere. But here's the deal. So I sat down and I said, you know what? Let me first watch a documentary because I in my mind, I was thinking the reason why Joe Rogan has Bobby Lazar on his podcast, it has to be because of the documentary, right? But shit, he ain't find no other UFOs out there. He's not saying that he went somewhere else and decided to report that he was working in another secret government lab somewhere. No, it has to be the documentary. So I said, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch this. And I did. And listen, spoiler alert right now. Spoiler alert. You have to get past the first 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes were so dramatic and so overproduced that I literally almost stopped watching it. Those first 15 minutes were all these old fancy shots of Corbell, you know, receiving text messages, looking at himself in a mirror, you know, and all this kind of. And I was like, what in the hell am I watching here? I really was about to abandon ship. I promise you. And I'm in a way, it might be a spoiler, but I'm letting you know. You're going to see Corbell up there, and he's doing all kind of crazy shit, walking through the desert and shit like that. Ignore that. Ignore all of that. I know, like me, I know you don't want to know about Corbell. You want to know about the man, Bob Lazar. The one that turned things upside down. The Rocket Man. That's who you want to know about. Now, once you get past those first 15 minutes, here's another spoiler alert. You're really not going to find anything that is so superstarish that it deserves a documentary. I'm going to say that right now. If you spend some time reading about Bob Lazar, listening to people go back and forth about Bob's history, how nothing could be proved, anything that he said was just bunk, no one could prove his education, where he worked, how he got to any of those facilities that the government was running, that documentary don't help you figure out shit. Yeah, as a matter of fact, go in there, go into your computer, dust off those old folders that you have named Bob Lazar. Read that shit over. Yeah, just go ahead. Go ahead. You could pause this right now and go do it. I really didn't find any new information that would say to me, I like this Bobby. Bobby's nice. I like Bobby. Bobby is like, he's a victim. Not a single thing. I just came away from that was like, fuck. Can Joe Rogan save this? Can Joe Rogan really do it? And when I tell you, I'm going to tell you this right now. Go to YouTube, look up that Joe Rogan interview. And here's the thing. Bob Lazar looked human. He really did. He looked like a human being. He didn't look like a superstar that, as a kid, invented a rocket-propelled bicycle. No, he didn't look like a guy that was in his neighborhood with a big-ass rocket car sitting out of his garage. He looked like someone that was talking about a topic that created him a lot of anxiety. He looked like someone that had been through the ringer and was really concerned about having to go through it all over again. Which, again, let me just say this. Corbell on there a few times makes reference to the Nimitz and the Nimitz, the Tic Tac, and the gimbal situations, the things out east, the things out west. When you put all those things together, when you put everything that Bob Lazar says, the things that Joe Rogan questioned, they kind of all make sense, believe it or not. I'm going to tell you that much. It wasn't, for me, it was not the documentary that helped the case to maybe propel, in my mind, that Bob Lazar is still relevant. And that's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. To help you, God. It was Joe Rogan that, in my mind, helped Bob Lazar become relevant. And Bob Lazar and Corbell were there and drinking alcohol. But, he was so nervous, not Joe Rogan, but I'm talking about Bob Lazar, that he needed alcohol to calm down. He had a migraine. And he was stopping mid-sentence because his head was hurting so bad. But he had some brown liquor in there to help him out. But don't we all get that way sometimes? Sometimes you need to, pop open the bottle and get some of that courage out of the brown liquor to help you out. Help you, answer those questions. Help you attack those things that keep you up at night. Those scary monsters called aliens. So that's my recommendation to you guys. If you really want to get back into the whole Bob Lazar story, you need to do both these things. Watch the documentary if you don't have a shitload of paperwork in your computer related to Bob Lazar, and then go and watch Joe Rogan interview him. Now, let me tell you one thing. I've heard from many people that in the past, Joe Rogan has said negative things about Bob Lazar's story. I wouldn't say Bob Lazar himself. What I heard was Bob Lazar's story. That in many ways, Rogan in the past has said with other guests that he really didn't believe it. It seemed outlandish, blah, blah, blah. I guarantee you, you will notice that Joe Rogan was really interested in Bob Lazar's story. And I think it's a little different. It makes a big difference to have that person in front of you and to really judge them and when they're telling you the story. And I think that's what Joe Rogan experienced. Plain and simple. I mean, I couldn't put that any other way. But it's a good interview. Check it out. Don't listen to it. Don't go to the podcast for Joe Rogan. No, you've got to go to YouTube. You got to see that live video. You got to see them sitting there in front of him as they talk about things. Hell, they even talked about that recent memo that came out that we talked about last week. They talked about that. I still don't see how the Admiral's memo really impacts anything. But that's just my opinion because it's just regurgitation. And listen, at this point, at 2019, you don't need a memo from, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 60s, 70s. You don't, if you're involved in ufology and you have been spending a few years studying, reading, keeping up with news, there isn't a damn memo on the planet that's going to convince you otherwise that this is a real situation. It's not a deal breaker. It's not going to bring you any more than what you already know. What you know in your heart of hearts is that there is such a thing as ETs and alien technology. That's what you believe. But maybe, like myself, you are still maybe kind of like on the edge. You're teeter-tottering. I didn't say titty. You're teeter-tottering on the fact that maybe it is here, maybe it's not. But then you look at all these reports, all the experiences, all these years of people, professional people, blue-collar people, everyone, kids, coming out with that same story, their experiences, the things that they report, the things they see. And you always kind of teeter a little bit towards that shit's happening, it's coming here. It may not be to the extent that it's reported, might be a little less, but it's really hard to say that it truly is not happening. Hey yo, episode 227. So anyway, this is the news, and I say it's a little sad. It's a little sad, yes. And the story today is that Colonel Robert Friend, Tuskegee pilot, dies at the age of 99. Now, you're saying, come on, really? I thought I was going to hear something about UFOs. Well, yes, you are. You hold on to your horses there, buddy. You take a chill pill. I'm about to get to that shit. The headline is coming from the Washington Post. Washington Post says, Robert Friend, Tuskegee pilot, who led Air Force study on UFOs, dies at 99. And you might say, what study would that be, Moonraker? That would be Project Blue Book. That's right. Colonel Friend actually was the head of Project Blue Book. How amazing is that? I mean, look at this. All the things that are happening. And I never would have guessed that a Tuskegee Airman was actually the one that was in charge of Project Blue Book. That is amazing. And just to quote the Washington Post, he was a decorated fighter pilot who flew 142 combat missions with the fabled Tuskegee Airmen during World War II, then became an expert on missile systems and directed Project Blue Book, the classified Air Force investigation into unidentified flying objects. He died June 21st at a hospital in Long Beach, California, and he was 99. What an amazing career. Amazing, legendary, historic. The cause of his passing was sepsis, and that was confirmed by his daughter, Karen Crumlich. Isn't that amazing? That a Tuskegee Airman was actually the head of Project Blue Book. He directed it. And you would think Project Blue Book probably would have been run by someone who could care less about UFOs, who thought they were all bunk and really didn't have a horse in the race, right? Because Project Blue Book, a lot of times it came across as something about disinformation. So we're just going to put this out there so people can shut the hell up. We're tired of hearing people talk shit about UFOs and little green men. We're going to do this project together, and they're going to shut the fuck up is what they're going to do. Because we're going to report all kind of shit that's going to keep them locked down. But there's a quote in here by Colonel Friend. And he said he believed the probability of there being life elsewhere in this big cosmos is just absolutely out of this world. This was something that he said in an interview with the Huffington Post back in 2012. And he says, I think the probability is there. During his tenure, he said he twice recommended that a federal agency outside of the military take on the study of UFOs. I mean, that could be a double-edged sword. He could be saying, you're wasting the military's time with this bullshit, somebody else do it. Or he could be saying that maybe there's something else here. Maybe we need to gather a shitload of scientists in the private sector, like quote-unquote apparently is happening, to take a look at this. It is okay to go out and get some of those private sector minds that get paid the shit boatload of money. Maybe it's okay to bring them into the discussion of why people are reporting this over and over again. I mean, really, the military is about defending the nation. And if you don't believe in UFOs, you're thinking, fuck, we're wasting our time here. What an amazing career. And sad to say that he has passed away. But at the age of 99, I could imagine he has seen and experienced so many things in his lifetime. And to be part of such a historic project for the Air Force. I mean, shit, we people in ufology, we won't let that bitch go. Project Blue Book. I mean, there's people who know Project Blue Book in and out. Yeah, and thanks to the History Channel, guess what? We're living a different side of Project Blue Book, the half-fake side. Yeah, true accounts, but freaking half the characters in there are fake as fuck. But that's just my take on Project Blue Book. It's entertainment value. What can you do? And so now it turns out that according to this, in his 28-year military career, he served as operations officer in the Korean and Vietnam Wars. He worked on Titan, Atlas, and Delta rocket programs. And from 58 to 63, he oversaw Project Blue Book. I mean, come on. They collected over 12,000 reports, approximately, about flying saucers and other mysterious airborne shit that was unidentified. A lot of them, I guess. Now, according to this, about 701 incidents remain unexplained out of those 12,000. But how many of those were forced explanations? Kind of like is alluded to in our History Channel series there, Project Blue Book. How many times were people convinced of what they saw rather than actually research being conducted as to what they actually saw? I assume it was quite a lot. But it's an important situation. It's something to be noted, you know. Project Blue Book is still, alive in the minds of many. People are always constantly referring back to Project Blue Book, but you never know the people behind it. You don't know, besides the ominous names that people always want to associate with the bad side or the negative dark government agenda. You don't get to see the good side, like this guy here, Colonel Robert Friend, a decorated Tuskegee Airman. I mean, that in and of itself is enough to celebrate this guy's career. And if you want to know more about his career, his family, and everything else that he did while in the armed forces, look at the Washington Post link that's in the description and read about it. There's a lot more in there. Of course, this being UFO Buster Radio, I only took out the stuff related to damn UFOs. Because I know once I go into everything else, you guys are tuned out to be like, oh, shit. I don't need a history lesson. Just bring me some damn probing. That's the episode for today. Listen, again, check out, it's a good history lesson. Come on. Decorated Airmen. You got to check it out. And, of course, being associated with Project Blue Book, it is amazing. I thank you guys for listening. I got a bit of a little sad tune here because, of course, we've lost someone. Whether or not you believe that Colonel Friend was a friend to ufology, It's a moot point at this point because he's passed away. But we thank him for his service. We thank him for being part of Project Blue Book. Ciao.